Speak to me.
The following is a production of Frank DeFreitas and the Internet Museum of Holography.
Hello and welcome to another week of HoloTalk for the week of September 20th, 1999. I almost forgot what week it was. We have someone special here in the studio again. If you're a regular listener to HoloTalk going back for the past 2 seasons, you'll remember this name. It's Debbie Lee. Debbie, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Frank. How are you?
How'd you make out with that little commercial you did for me?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah?
A couple mistakes, but, it was fun.
Yeah, we want to tell everyone that we're going to have a lecture series here at the studio in Allentown. The first Wednesday, why don't you tell them about it? You just did the thing.
Well, it's going to be the first Wednesday of every month from September to May, although the first Wednesday of September is already gone, so it really should be October.
Already passed. And the first Wednesday of September is usually before Labor Day anyway, and we don't really do anything with HoloTalk or a lot with the studio, with the outside from Memorial Day through Labor Day. So maybe a better way to say that would be October through May, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll have to see. It's gone now. There's nothing we can do about it.
Anyway,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
Yes, you did. You're so rude. You are redoing this, right?
No, I'm not.
You are now. Oh, no. No, we're not doing this. You're not going to redo this?
Okay, it's from September through May.
It's from September through May, the first Wednesday of every month, and it starts at 7:30, and Frank will talk at first on holography. Then he's going to take the people for a tour through the lab and give them a chance to view his holograms and just see the lab.
Also get a chance to see the new laser system, which is going from the gas lasers to the diode lasers. So whatever experiment we happen to have happening down here at the time when you come through, you'll get a chance to see what it is we're working on. And I guess we should maybe even change the topic each month, too, a little bit, huh? Speak one month on this, another month on that, although my knowledge is fairly limited when it comes to holography.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we have a guest this week, besides Debbie Lee, who's here in the studio. The guest on HoloTalk this week is Sam Goldwasser, and that name should ring a bell with you if you've been on the net for some time doing research on lasers. And if the name Sam Goldwasser doesn't ring a bell, the term Sam's Laser Fact certainly should, because it's probably the most incredible resource for lasers, not just on the Internet, but in print or anywhere else. And Sam was kind enough to come on HoloTalk and do an interview, and what we did is, believe it or not, I just sat back in the chair when I was doing this interview, and we completely forgot, well, not totally, but just about forgot that we were even recording it for the show, and it went over an hour. Normally the HoloTalk shows are about a half an hour or so, so what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is take that down to 2 parts, 2 separate parts, 1 part this week and another part next week. Good to be back for another season. This is the 3rd season now.
Doesn't seem like it's that long.
Yeah, that long.
Time flies.
So we're going to move on to Sam's interview, part 1, and next week, which will be the 27th.
Right.
And I did that in my head.
You're good.
That will be part 2. And if you're not on the mailing list for the HoloTalk show, just click on the email link, and each week you'll get 1 email that will tell you who the guest is, what the topic is, if there is a guest, and if there isn't a guest, what we're going to talk about when there's not a guest, and just fill you in on all the stuff that we're going to be doing here for the rest of the season, which will take us up to Memorial Day once again. How was the summer? Pretty good?
It's pretty good. Hot.
Hot summer.
Hot summer.
It was
brutal.
Rough. Brutal is the word.
It is.
Today's word is brutal. Okay, enjoy the show and the interview with Sam Goldwasser. And you know where Sam lives?
No.
I've been reading Sam's Laser Fact for a couple of years. I mean, it's a really pop place to go for information on lasers, technical information on lasers. He posts on a news group, Alt Lasers, on Usenet, and he's a very prolific poster. Over 25,000 posts, from what I understand, this guy is, since he's been on the Internet. And I figured this is the perfect guy to get on the show for an interview, and I found out that he lives right down by Philadelphia.
Wow.
Right down by Philly. So you never know on the net, even though you think someone may be, maybe thousands of miles away, and in most cases that is true, you also find out that many times the person that you think is 1,000 miles away is really just
right down the street.
Right down the street. All right, so we'll move on to the interview. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to come back on after it's over, as normally I do not do anyway, because this all gets put together in pieces, and what I'd have to do is sit here and go through another piece to do an ending, and this is enough work for me right now. So I'm going to say thanks for tuning in, and please come back and tune in each and every week for a new show here at HoloTalk, and take care. See you next week.
See you next week. Would you like to create your own three-dimensional holograms? Well, you can begin today, and Frank DeFreitas can show you how. From introductory guides like his shoebox holography system to developing innovative and affordable new laser systems, along with year-round holography workshop programs, Frank is finding a way to bring the out of reach into the reach of everyone. From September through May, you can attend one of his free evening lecture series at the studio in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is a quick, non-stop drive from the New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. Offered the first Wednesday of every month, Frank begins the evening at 7:30 with a talk on holography, followed by a tour of the lab and a chance to view holograms in his personal collection. There is no cost to attend a Wednesday evening lecture, but you must call in advance or send an email to make reservations. To reach the studio for more information or to make reservations for the Wednesday evening lecture series, please call toll-free 1-800-458-3525 or send an email from the website. That number again is 1-800-458-3525 to attend a Wednesday evening lecture at the studio. Frank hopes to see you there.
Hello?
Hello, Sam.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I have 3 clocks around me here. Each one of them has a different time, so I sort of just averaged it out.
Yeah, well, it would have worked a minute later also.
I'm running from 6:58 to 7:04, so...
I figured you'd have one of those
Atomic clocks.
No, one that runs off, what's the time station?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really good to have you do the interview for the show, because I know it's going to be a really popular show, because everyone knows about your web work, and I thought we could take a few minutes to talk about that and some of the things that you're involved with lasers.
Absolutely.
How did I know on the website you already have an explanation of how you got the Sam's Laser Fact started.
Right.
But maybe for someone who's just tuning in now and hasn't been to the site yet until they click on the link, maybe you can give them a rundown about what that's all about.
Right. The other thing is that most people don't bother to read those sections in the fact.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things forward, preface, forward, introduction. People don't read that.
Oh, I'll tell you, there have been so many nights when I should have gone to bed that I was at that site for hours. How did it all get started?
Well, it's kind of a long story.
Okay, well, I've got 12 hours and 51 seconds left for recording time.
Excellent.
We can do 2 parts if you want.
I guess it kind of comes in two parts. This explanation kind of comes in 2 parts.
Okay.
The first part is, well, while I've been, aware of lasers from, the news announced in 1960 or 61 when the first laser was demonstrated, I really hadn't had any serious involvement until back actually. My first actual, aside from back in the early days of having played with a little helium neon laser at my high school and having inherited a ruby laser that was built by some other students from the Popular Science article, I believe.
That's a nice inheritance.
Well, I didn't keep it. I mean, I was kind of custodian for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it ever actually worked, but that's another story. My first personal involvement with lasers was when a friend of mine asked me if I had any lasers, and I said no. And I just couldn't let that stand, so I found a surplus place and bought a couple of helium neon lasers just to play with. And that was before the days of my FAC, and I didn't realize how much they really should have cost, so I spent a lot more than I should have. But I'm still using them. They're still nice lasers.
Yeah,
that was around 1990.
Oh, okay. Well, you're getting a lot of use out of those.
Yeah, actually, in fact, one of them is what I use to align tubes. That's the device I use to align helium neon and argon tubes. So it comes in handy.
God bless the Heaney.
I still like them. I know your favorite now is diodes, and somehow it's just not the same. The little diode it may have the same output beam that some of them may, but somehow it's not the same as a gas discharge. I don't know. It's sort of a religious thing, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of romanticism involved. I mean, I'm very touched by the Heaney, too. I mean, since I was really young, but later on in the season, I think we're going to have a memorial service for the Heaney, complete with a burial and everything.
Well, I don't blame you if you can get your 35 milliwatt diode to work.
You know what I noticed about the fringes? You're aware of what fringes are.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine. I was trying to come up with some sort of a way of explaining the feel of the fringes, making a comparison between the Heaney and the diodes. And the diode fringes almost remind me of something electronic to begin with. They look electronic, almost like comparing a digital recording to an analog recording, where the analog recording would be the fringes from the Heaney. But there is very, very much a difference.
But just because of how stable they appear to be?
Yeah, they're crazy. There's really, after you've worked with an interferometer and a Heaney for so many years, to see those fringes from these diodes, especially if they're being powered right, it's eerie. It's strange.
I would have thought that the temperature as the chip heated up would affect the frequency, the wavelength.
I haven't found that to be happening. I guess. See, Sam Savage worked out some sort of a closed loop feedback, but it's always monitoring itself.
Well, with the laser diode, you always want to monitor the output power.
Yeah.
You need to do that because as the thing heats up, the power goes down, and if you want to maintain it constant, you have to do that. Or even the cheapest, not all cheap laser pointers do that, but some of them do that.
Yeah.
And CD players do that, and DVDs do that. So that's come out. If he's also doing some temperature control, that would be something else.
Yeah.
That might be helping to do it.
No, I don't think there's a heat sink in there, but that's, once again, I mean, that must change according to ambient temperature as well. You take it outside on 32 degrees, it's going to be different.
Sure. I mean, it would be interesting to try some experiments to see if putting it on a block of ice will cause the fringes to now gradually move, to change position, because you would think that the mode structure is dependent on the distance between the mirrors.
Now, would that happen with the Heaney as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's in fact when you turn a Heaney on. You just turn one on, and a typical cheap tube, not a frequency stabilized one, but your average, the kind that you and I are all familiar with.
Yeah.
And I mean, as it warms up, there's very definite drift, just as a result of thermal expansion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the whole thing basically is. It's a problem with thermal expansion of the mirrors, both in distance and the degree of how parallel they are.
Yeah.
So, if you can get that to be, it's as good as it sounds, then it's going to be quite exciting.
So you got your Heanies.
Yeah, so I got those, and I these were kind of tubes and power supplies. I put them together, and I mounted one of them in a little case, and it's cute. And I said, well, that's kind of cool, but at that point, I wasn't really, and I'm still not that so much interested in using the lasers. What interests me is what the lasers are and how they're powered and how how they work and how you deal with them. Not my interests right now aren't so much the application.
Yeah.
I leave guys like you to deal with that.
Now, did you work with lasers as your job?
No.
No.
No. In fact, then we jumped to 1994, and there's a history to the job also. We had formed a startup company in 1985, which was involved in high-performance image processing, actually three-dimensional visualization, but digitally.
Wow.
Digitally of computer CAT scans and MRI scans for the medical market. I and three of my students had developed the system while I was a professor at University of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And we formed a company in 1985 to develop that, and we were kind of naive about the business and marketing of high-tech products, especially before there was really a market for that sort of product. But we kind of limped along. We got several $1 million in venture capital and managed to sell a few dozen of these $150,000 machines.
Wow.
And then we were taken over in 1992 by Picker International, which is one of the major medical imaging companies in the world. And during that time, going from a small company to a large company is not something I ever wanted to do. And so, as a result of a variety of circumstances caused by management stupidity, at least in our opinion, and things like that, I kind of became bored.
Isn't management fun?
Pardon?
Isn't dealing with management fun?
That's right. So around 1994, I really discovered the news groups on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had known about them before, but it was, for some reason, I was bored enough, and I found these electronic news groups on the internet. And I became a major contributor to it started out with the repair group, the Electronics Repair, which is the mostly consumer electronics-related repair, VCRs, TVs, microwave ovens, and so forth.
Yeah, this is on Usenet.
Yes.
Yeah, for people who are listening. Go ahead.
Right. So I developed, from between 1994 and the present time, I have something like 20 to 25,000 postings on Usenet.
Wow.
That includes Usenet Repair and then later on the laser group. But it's a little later, maybe a year after that, probably even less than a year after that, somebody who ran a website in Pittsburgh sent me an email and said, hey, you've been posting all this stuff on Fly Electronics Repair. Why don't you want to make it into some FAQs that I put up on my website? So what I originally started developing were all these how-to manuals for consumer electronics repair. And that up until the last 2 years really was the bulk of what I had been doing on the internet. So if you go to my homepage, repaireffect.org, you'll actually see a manual for how to repair a CD player, VCR, TVs, monitors, microwave ovens, switch mode power supplies, strobes, and even lawnmowers.
I can't believe your output of stuff. It's just incredible. It's like the eighth wonder of the world.
The LaserFac evolved actually from a 18,000-character little short document, and may still be on some of those sites, about how to power a laser diode from a CD player. People have bullies when they fix CD players. They have some that they can't fix, and of course it has a laser in it, so it must be good for something.
Yeah, rip that baby apart.
Rip that baby out until they find out it's invisible. CD player laser is 780 nanometers. It's virtually invisible, so it's almost totally invisible. So it makes a really lousy laser pointer, but there's a lot of things you can do with it. Still, if you don't mind an invisible beam. So that document kicked around for a while, and then it's not quite clear what really stimulated my interest in developing the LaserFac, but a few years later, the same guy who ran the website, I mentioned to him that I was looking for some laser stuff, and he said, I got a bunch of old you need laser tubes and power supplies and stuff, so he sent them all to me.
Wow.
And I started reverse engineering all these old power supplies and figuring out all the stuff that nobody else on the web and nobody else, as far as I could tell in print, had done before.
Yeah.
I think I can say, with all due modesty, that the LaserFac has more information for the practical experimenter than anything else in the universe right now.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I don't think there's anything like it in the world.
I don't think in the world. Outside of possibly in the secret archives of a laser company, they may have stuff like this, but nothing that the general public can get their hands on. And that includes print as well as electronic media. And it just evolved. It really just evolved.
What do you think of some of those old power supplies? I had one that was around here from one of the old Spectra Physics 124s.
Sure.
The thing was like 30 pounds.
I have one of those.
Yeah.
I collect stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you have any stuff laying around like that, I collect it. It's a brute force power supply.
Yeah.
But they work. They're nice, they're simple, they're easy to repair, and they work.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. You can't ask for a lot more. And so it kind of developed a life of its own. It's in some ways like it's called a passion right now.
There's a lot of different locations for it, right?
The main one is repaireffect.org, REPAR, FAQ, one word, .org, www.repaireffect.org. It's not quite as up to date. There's another one that's a little more up to date, but the repaireffect.org is probably just as good. The one that's the most up to date for your own personal use is the one at the CMU, the one in my tagline. That's the one. It seems like since I have both the Telnet and FTP access to it, it's easier to maintain.
Yeah.
Whereas the repaireffect.org is strictly FTP. So that's just detail. But they're very nearly equivalent.
I noticed on one of your web pages there was a guy that was using I don't know if it was a laser pointer or just a laser diode, but very early on he was saying he was noticing some coherence length with it.
Yeah, there was some guy who was doing interferometry with it.
Yeah.
And at that point, I said, okay, this guy sounds credible, and I can't dispute it, so I put it in. But,
yeah.
And I can believe that it happened. I can also believe there are probably a lot of laser diodes that aren't any good.
Yeah. What we went through in the beginning with people saying that either we were nuts or, it's theoretically impossible. It was crazy in the beginning, but now it's pretty exciting for everybody.
Well, it's interesting that on the one hand, people say that because the chip in the laser diode is so small, as I was mentioning earlier, there's going to be real problems with stability as it heats up and so forth. On the other hand, the smaller cavity that you have, the less likely you are to have more than one mode running at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're very likely to have a pure output. It's just the question is how stable over the long term will it be? And apparently you found out that it can be quite stable, at least under the right conditions with the right drive. I don't know. It's clear that there still are some gas lasers being sold, and there's certainly that some of the frequency stabilized and even more expensive gas lasers being sold. But at what point? I mean, it's just such an explosion of laser activity in the last couple of years, especially with the diode pump lasers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really exploded. I mean, so many companies are doing that, and it's clear there's just almost no end to what can be done at this point.
You didn't see the blue diode yet, did you?
I haven't seen one. I went so far as to ask for the non-disclosure agreement from Nikki, but after I read that, I'm a private. I don't have a battery of lawyers to figure out what that means.
Yeah.
And besides, it was clear that even if I got one of those diodes, the non-disclosure would bind me. I couldn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, my interest in lasers is information, to disseminate information, and if I can't do that, it's not worth doing.
It's a labor of love for you, isn't it?
Well, it absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely totally. I mean, the only real payment there is no real payment. The only payment I've gotten is basically the people who send me their dead laser stuff. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. The compliments I get over an email and the occasional donation of things that I can take apart or fix or whatever.
Where do you have all your stuff? At your house?
Yeah.
In the basement?
Yeah. You should see my basement.
Although,
no, it's not really as bad as you think. I mean, some of the people I've communicated with on the Internet, it's clear they have about 10 times more junk than I do.
Do you have people that come over?
No, that's the interesting thing about the Internet. I mean, I've communicated with literally thousands of people, and many people who are regular correspondence. Yet, at no time has anybody really been interested in coming over. It's a strange thing about the Internet.
I've started to have people show up at the door.
Yeah.
They've knocked on the door. And a couple was here a little while ago from England. They were here on vacation. They wanted to stop by. I bring them in. It's my house. I live here with my family and everything. And I don't think the type of people that we run into with the work that we do, is going to be of the serial killer profile or anything. So it's still safe.
Right.
Let's take a quick break because we're at 50 megabytes here. I want to break this up into a couple chunks so that it's easier to work with when I edit it. So I'm going to take a break here, and we'll be right back.
Would you like to create your own three-dimensional holograms? Well, you can begin today, and Frank DeFreitas can show you how. From introductory guides like his shoebox holography system to developing innovative and affordable new laser systems, along with year-round holography workshop programs, Frank is finding a way to bring the out of reach into the reach of everyone. From September through May, you can attend one of his free evening lecture series at the studio in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is a quick, non-stop drive from the New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. Offered the first Wednesday of every month, Frank begins the evening at 7:30 with a talk on holography, followed by a tour of the lab and a chance to view holograms in his personal collection. There is no cost to attend a Wednesday evening lecture, but you must call in advance or send an email to make reservations. To reach the studio for more information or to make reservations for the Wednesday evening lecture series, please call toll-free 1-800-458-3525 or send an email from the website. That number again is 1-800-458-3525 to attend a Wednesday evening lecture at the studio. Frank hopes to see you there.
All right, we're back with Sam.
Okay.
And if you're logging on from Alt Lasers, this is the man that's been posting all of the posts and quite a few other news groups as well, right? You're a regular still in those other news groups?
Less so. On the repair group, I basically, I'll answer something if it looks like nobody else is, or if it's easy or interesting. And I usually post one daily or every other day a posting with a link to the FAQs so that people can find them.
So, but usually daily you log on and go through your regular groups.
Yeah, in fact, more than once a day. I'm virtually logged on 10 hours, 12 hours a day.
That Alt Lasers has a lot of crazy posts come through there every once in a while.
There's a few guys. There's about a half a dozen people on the various technical news groups that are totally nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't figured out quite whether they're people or programs in some cases. They just, some of what they post is just so off the wall that it's hard to believe.
I went to that one guy's website that posted about the pyramids were built with lasers. Did you go to that website?
I never went to the website.
That was really off the wall, too. Yeah, he was ranting and raving about everything, you know. Yeah, it's something. They're all out there.
Yeah, there's one guy who's not quite crazy, but has really weird ideas and probably poor experiments on psi optics, claiming that the speed of light is not constant but depends on the energy of the photon or something, but the detectors exactly compensate for it. So that's pretty weird. That comes popping back every few weeks. We see that. And then there's guys on the Alt Lasers. Always, the ones that are most amusing are the ones who pop in and say, can I change my laser pointer into something that'll burn? So just if I use a higher voltage, yeah. But the ones that get me, get a response from me on the news group, for example, about you should do your own homework, are the ones who clearly post a list of questions that are straight out of a textbook, and then they don't say it's for a course or exam or anything. They just expect people to help them.
Yeah.
Then they get my lecture about you have to do your own work and so forth.
Alt Lasers is getting pretty active.
It's
for such a small niche of people.
It's just active enough. I found I've had to give up some news groups because they were just too active.
Yeah.
I used to go through all the postings on Alt Home Repair, MIST Consumer House, and CompSys Hardware PC or IBM PC Video, which are huge groups. They're literally 300-400 messages, somewhere between 200 and 400 postings a day.
Oh my goodness.
I just couldn't do that. I mean, it just wasn't. They were the amount of returns was too small to justify the time. So I gave up those, and I usually skim through the other side on electronics groups, but don't really go through in detail. I used to go through and spend a lot of time, but part of the reason I don't is because I'm spending more time on the lasers fact.
Yeah. What lasers do you have at your house now that you work on?
Mostly Hemis, and they have a couple Argons, and a method, a lot of diodes and so forth. I don't have any exotic lasers. I keep, fantasizing that someday I'll actually build one or more of the truly home-built lasers from Scientific American or something else like that.
Was that a friend of yours on the site that blasted the mosquito? He was using a high-powered pulsed laser. I think the photos are...
the stink bug.
The stink bug, yeah. The stink bug, yeah.
He's a guy who had sent me a whole... Originally, when I started that section with all the photos, he originally had sent me a lot of photos of lasers. It's not... he's a friend in the same way that other more frequent people I communicate with more frequently are.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting one. Mr. Stink Bug. But it's not really a fair test. I mean, the stink bug was dead already.
Yeah. There was another person that wrote to me from after I had posted about some of the things that we were doing with the diodes on alt lasers.
Right.
And there seems to be a small group of them that, I guess they have YAG lasers that they're bouncing the beam off the moon with the retro reflectors
There's
that the Apollo astronauts.
There's an entire group, well, not only for that, but there's an amateur laser communications list server. That's an email discussion group.
Yeah.
That they're mostly my impression is they're mostly like amateur radio types who have gotten into using various lasers from the laser pointers to much more sophisticated ones to try to communicate with each other over mostly line of sight distances, but they also occasionally talk about the idea of bouncing off the retro reflectors.
Yeah.
That's that's an interesting area to get into. It's just it's peripheral to my interest with the laser fact, my lasers.
Where do you think you'll go with the laser fact eventually? Do you think you'll publish it? Try and find a publisher and get it out there in the books? I mean, I don't know if that would even be something to do anymore with the advent of the internet.
It would be a hard choice. First of all, publishers have shown a total lack of interest. For the few that I've actually mentioned it to, I mean, for when they've contacted me for other reasons, I mentioned this huge volume of information that's just about in publishable form. They disappear.
Wow.
I think partly because it's just such a niche area right now, and they haven't realized that photonics and lasers is increasing in importance as technology progresses. But they're interested in publishing the quick computer, PC, internet book right now, I think.
Yeah.
It's the kind of, it is, if a publisher came to me tomorrow and said they're interested in it, it's in a form that could be published. I mean, I'd have to redo some of the diagrams, but by and large, it's all there. The thing I keep threatening to add is a couple chapters in solid-state lasers. In fact, if you poke around my site, you'll find the beginnings of those, but it's going to be a while, realistically, before I actually get around to it, to finishing them.
That takes a lot of time to do.
It takes a lot of time, and partly the way I get motivated is if I get some toys to play with. How did I figure out how to deal with diode lasers? I had a bunch of diodes that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
Had to figure them out, figure out the pinouts, figure out how to drive them without blowing them up. And that's how the diode chapter comes along. The EV chapters, because I had tubes and power supplies to play with and could figure out, do all the basically experimentation to figure out how to make them work and what symptoms are present when they don't work and why and how to remedy them and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, my current project right now is to build an induction heater driver so I can reactivate the getters on some old tubes. Yeah, it's a little project. If you're a science fiction fan, I don't know, whether you're younger or whether you've ever been to science fiction. There's a book by Larry Niven, The Mote in God's Eye. It's an older, it's probably 15, 20 years old. But the one thing from that is that there was this alien civilization which was so short on materials that whenever they needed to build something, they'd rip something else apart to build it. The only reason I mention that is that that's kind of me. I mean, a lot of the things I build, I build long enough to write about them and write down everything there is about them, but then recycle the parts and use it for something else.
Yeah.
So that way, I don't have to. I have a quite decent inventory of parts and things accumulated over many years of being in electronics, but that way I don't have to keep buying a lot of new things.
What's the most powerful single mode diode that you've come across out there? Because we had that 500 milliwatt Polaroid for a while, but that's virtually useless for holography.
It's so asymmetric, I guess. And I guess it's multi-mode.
Yeah, it's that's the biggest problem. I mean, as far as the beam, you could probably use some sort of. I mean, it's so flat. It's just like a line. It's almost,
I've heard it costs about $2,000 for the optics to fix that.
Yeah. If you wanted to buy them right through.
Right.
But
I imagine you could do it.
There's little secrets to do that.
Right.
I've made beautiful cylindrical optics just by taking a test tube and putting mineral oil in it.
Sure.
Yeah. So
there are ways around that.
Yeah. But the multi-mode, you can't get around that.
Yeah, I don't. And you're talking visible. I don't know anything much higher than that.
Yeah.
Visible. I mean, the IR diodes, I guess a few watts. Talking about at least a few watts. So I have a couple of 1 watt diodes. Like someday I'll.
Now, are they single mode?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the specs of them.
Because there are some holographic recording materials out there for pulsed ruby laser that's getting pretty close to the near infrared.
Well, 694, yeah. That's deep red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you're in the infrared, it's
because of the absorption band and YAG for an 808. That's where it seems the highest power laser diodes are these days. I mean, that's where, of course, that there you don't really need single mode. You just need power.